What's up, guys? So I know a lot of you guys found me because you were looking for a new bike and you wanted some help figuring out all the different specs and just everything you needed to know about that bike. Now, you probably have your bike and you're wondering, how can I get better? How can I take my riding to the next level? I was just doing a live where I talked to some of the guys in there and they're just learning foot jams. They want to learn bar spins. They have a bunch of these different tricks. So I want to throw this video together from a post that I put on dougsterbob.com about a year ago. And it's just going over how to be it's just going over how to be a better BMX rider. So let's get right into it. The Dougster Bob mission. Growing BMX by making it fun and easy to understand. For some of us, it's an escape. For others, it's a passion. But for all of us, it's a lifestyle. You're gonna love this sport. I'm glad you're letting me teach you everything that I know about it. Now, the first thing kind of correlates with your mindset and the way you approach BMX. If you approach it as you're just getting on the bike and you're just riding for a few hours a day, you're not going to get very much out of it. You need to think of it more as like an athletic approach. So think about a pro football player. 90% of their time is spent on taking care of their body and making sure they're in the best shape possible. The rest of their time is actually spent playing the sport. So in BMX, it's very important to just take care of your body overall. A couple things that I really recommend you do is stretch. Stretch out those muscles before you ride and mostly every single morning just so that your body can get used to that. Flexibility is really going to help you out when you start to crash. You want to be able to adapt to that crash and not get so hurt. So flexibility is key. Strength also plays a really big role here. You should be working out, you should be getting stronger just so that one, you can prevent those injuries, and two, you're able to maneuver the bike around a lot easier. So really think about those things. How can you become better off the bike, which then helps you become better on the bike? I hope that makes sense. But what you put into your body and the way that you navigate that is really going to help you out in the long run with becoming a better BMX rider. Hey, real quick, I'm going to pop in here and just remind you, if these tips are helpful, to hit that like button. It really helps me out and I know I'm helping you guys out, so hit it. Now, this next one is something that really helped me out a ton, and it's setting goals. So if you show up to the skate park with no clear goal in mind, you're not going to get anything out of that session. It's really important to think about this when you're not riding. What do you want to get out of BMX? This could be a goal as big as getting sponsored, all the way down to just a goal about learning a certain trick. But once you set that goal, it's a lot easier to make decisions that are going to help you get closer to that goal. So if you decide that your goal is to learn bar spins, when you're at the skate park, you're going to remember, oh yeah, I wanted to learn bar spins. And then through the duration of that session, you can spend that time working on bar spins and getting better at bar spins and things that are going to help you in that area. If you never set a goal, you're just going to show up, you're going to ride, you're going to try some tricks, and you're going to go home. It's a useless session and it's not going to help you get any further. Now, I'll tell you my outline for setting goals and how I used it to become a better bike rider. When it comes to tricks, there's two types of goals that you want to consider. You want to consider tricks that you need to fine tune and tricks that you want to learn. The tricks that you're going to fine tune are tricks that you can already do, but they're kind of sloppy. You probably just learned these tricks and you need to spend time to work on making them cleaner and better so that you can have them consistently and so they look stylish. So I'd write down tricks that I want to get better at. For example, turn downs. I need more extension. So I'm going to do 20 turn downs a day. Before I leave the park, before I end the session, I'm throwing 20 turn downs and focusing on that maximum extension. That's really going to help me not only turn down, but turn down really good. And just setting really deep goals like that's going to help you immensely. So the second section, the tricks that you need to work on are tricks that you cannot land yet. You might have landed it once or twice, you might be pretty close, but you really need to put in that work to actually land it. So for example, let's say that I cannot land a 540. I get pretty close, but most of the time I just get 450 and jump off the bike. That's going to be on my work on section where I'm going to constantly go to the park and make sure that I spend a dedicated amount of time working on that trick before I leave. That way I can get closer and closer to it over time as I keep practicing. Just keep in mind that learning a new trick does take a lot of time and a lot of effort. It's not something you're going to be able to get right away. And if you are, or if you can get it right away, you're very lucky because not many people are able to do that. For example, it took me 2 solid years of trying whips before I could actually land it. It took me another year on top of that before I could land it consistently. But here's the thing. If I didn't go every day and throw 5 whips, every day I would make sure to try tail whips and get close. My feet would get on, they'd slip off, I'd go dead sailor, whatever it may be. I kept trying and trying and trying, and it eventually paid off. Had I not tried so much, I probably wouldn't be doing anything with BMX right now because it's really frustrating and I would have given up. And I hope a lot of you guys get past that point where tricks are really hard to learn, but you just persevere, you make it through it, and you keep learning. That's the only way that you're going to be able to do it. Another way to become a better BMX rider is by traveling. There's so many different reasons that traveling can literally change your life. My first experience with traveling and riding bikes, I was probably 15 or 16, and my grandpa took me on a trip all the way from New Mexico up to Missouri. And on that trip, we stopped at every single skate park that we passed through. I remember we went to, the first one was Alamogordo. We stopped, we didn't know where the park was, so we stopped at a gas station and I had to ask the lady where the skate park was. So we went to it. I ended up getting a flat tire, but anyway, the reason that that's important is one, you're going to meet so many different people. You're going to encounter people with different styles that you can take from and learn from and ultimately build your trick portfolio to be so much more diverse than it would be if you just stayed at your home park. The second thing is you're going to encounter different obstacles. Some parks have flyout, some parks have spines, some parks have big quarters, steep quarters, mellow quarters. Every park is built differently. And if you're stuck at your home park, you might be the absolute master at that park. But when you go to a new park or park for a contest, you're going to have a really hard time because everything is built differently. So keep that in mind. I really, really, really think that traveling is a game changer. The last reason for traveling is there's different tricks in different areas. I remember that I learned how to nose pivot 540 to fakie from a friend in Colorado. And after learning that trick, I was riding in Wyoming with my friends in Wyoming. And then after coming back a couple years later, I saw a handful of guys there doing that same trick. And it's because of those close friends that I taught when I was riding with them, just spreading that around. So it's really cool to see how one trick that you take away from a different park can influence your home park or different parks that you ride to. There's East Coast style, there's West Coast style, there's all kinds of different styles in BMX. And if you watch a lot of edits, you know this. Some guys go high and fast, some guys do a lot of grinds, where some guys just do a lot of more stylish stuff. And being able to travel and ride with different people, you're going to take from those styles and you're going to build your portfolio. You're going to build the way you ride and you're going to adapt it. And it's just going to make you such a better rider in the long run. The last thing you guys can do to become a better bike rider is to embrace the fear. Action sports are scary. Throwing yourself in the air, doing tricks, all that stuff is scary. But there's a way to harness that fear and turn it into something great. So there's a thing called a flow state, and there's a thing called a polyvagal theory. There's a bunch of different psychological things that explain why we react the way that we react. For example, when our heart rate is elevated above 120 beats per minute, we start to get into a zone. So our focus narrows, time starts to feel like it's slowed down. And it's a way, if you can induce yourself into that, you can really feel the experience of BMX. You can get into a flow state. There's a couple books on that. So knowing this and being able to get into this is great, but the only way to do it is to scare yourself enough to elevate that heart rate. If you're just doing the same thing over and over because fear scares you way too much to even attempt it, you're going to stay in the same spot. You're not going to progress at all. And that's fine if that's what you want to get. But those guys that you see constantly learning tricks, constantly getting better, they're scaring themselves, but they love it and they know how to do it right. All right, so those are 4 of my tips to get better as a BMX rider. I hope this helped you guys out. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comments for the next video so that I can help you out. Before you guys go, I want you to check out 2 different videos. I have one video up here about some BMX bikes in 2021 that don't suck. And then I also have a playlist of all of my live streams. I go live every single Friday and answer your BMX questions for about an hour. So head to my channel and make sure that you get notified when I go live this week so that you can ask me literally anything.